I opened up TikTok, I think last week, maybe a couple days ago, and I saw something I haven't seen in a long time. In a long, long time. I saw Charlie D'Amelio doing a dance. Look, I know this sounds a little bit corny coming from me, but it's almost like a sense of normalcy again. Like things are back to how they're supposed to be. Sometimes I will say, like, I'm when I'm scrolling through TikTok, I'm just like, hey, where'd all the dances go? Huh? Where's everyone dancing? I see everyone cooking. I see people showing me all these items I can buy nowadays. It's turned into a shop, right? Like you'll accidentally end up on that shop page so frequently now. And with all this stuff happening where it's like, oh, TikTok's on its way out, because of its affiliation and Chinese ownership, unless it gets sold to some type of American company or some type of ally company, TikTok's on its way out. So to open up TikTok and see good old Charlie back at it again, it it was a breath of fresh air. And also how freaking genius of her. How genius of her to be like, "Oh, y'all think this shit going somewhere? Y'all think this is going somewhere? Watch this." Cuz that, she was part of that class that made this thing as big as it is now, right? I remember watching that All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game in 2020. So it was February of 2020 before COVID hit. And it was her, Addison Ray, and then I think Charlie's sister, who I cannot remember the name. They were at the All-Star game doing TikToks with Jokic, Brandon, who else? Aaron Gordon, and it was just like, yo, this is weird. Like this is a very weird look. These girls look like they're 16, 17, and doing all these TikToks with these grown ass dudes. And back then, I didn't even know what TikTok was. I thought it was just something like that. What was that thing everyone was using? Musically. I was just like, oh, this is on its way out. This is just another one of those things. People are tired of using Snapchat. People are going to try to use TikTok. It's going to fail. The same way, damn, I've been wrong about a lot of this shit, huh? When I made my Snapchat name, I definitely thought that thing was not going to have any traction. And then for the past 7-8 years, I've been iSnap000. Same thing with TikTok. I only got on board after it was way too late. That's not why I haven't blown up on TikTok, but I was very late to the curve. And then next thing you know, COVID hits, TikTok becomes what it's become. And now it's just a shop. Now it's just a shop where everyone's buying some stuff. Everyone's selling some toothbrush. Everyone's selling some candle holder. Everyone's got a thing on TikTok that they're trying to sell. And I get it. There's so much money behind this stuff. And now that they just rolled out this new creator program fund thing, I don't know what it is, but all of this is going to probably come to an end if TikTok leaves. So seeing Charlie pop back up on my feed, and look, I'm not like, oh my gosh, she's so hot or anything like that. She is a good dancer, bro. Like, I'm someone that when I see people dance, I'm like, I could probably, I could probably take them. The only time that I see people dance and I'm like, God damn, is when you see these videos from like Playground LA or some of these dance classes in New York, wherever it is. That is the only time I'm like, damn, like that is some shit I'm gonna steal from later on. That and of course Chris Brown videos. But anytime, anything else, like when I was watching plenty of other TikToks in 2020, I was like, I could be big for this. I could make it big in dancing, but I didn't. But back to Charlie, where it's just like it works. Like there is a reason she got as big as she did. It's because they are good. Like they are legitimately good. And I don't want to like what's it called? I'm trying to think of the PG-13 way of saying this. I'm not trying to dick ride her too hard, but it's true. And so seeing that pop up on my feed, it was like, damn, I gotta share this with everyone. I gotta share this with everyone. Obviously, I'm not gonna do the dance, right? It was a very feminine dance, but it was good to see. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, or welcome for the first time. Episode 28. This is the Ajay Patel Show. My name is Ajay Patel. And this past weekend, was Holi. So happy Holi if you're hearing this. Uh, I how did I celebrate? I didn't do anything. Holi has become one of those holidays where it's just too much maintenance. Like if you've celebrated it, if you haven't, then maybe just do a little Google search, or you probably saw it on your stories if you have any brown friends where, it's a lot of color being thrown at people. Everyone's throwing water on each other, right? It's just like a big old, it's like a field day where everyone gets this powder color and then you just throw it on people nonstop for a couple of hours. There's normally a DJ. You eat some food with your dirty hands and then you go home and try to shower all this stuff out. You have color in your nails and finger, it's hard to get out afterwards. When I was growing up, I would go to our local temple, play holy, come home, and then, get that toothbrush, start scrubbing, digging in my nails and stuff. And dealing with that now, where it's like, okay, you got to get dressed, drive over somewhere, get dirty, try to towel off, get in the car. Hopefully the car doesn't get stained or anything. Then you come back home, shower. That's a lot. It's just a lot. And there were a handful of events in LA where I was like, damn, like that looks fun. Damn, that looks fun. But like I'm someone that when I'm making scrambled eggs or anything in the kitchen, if the slightest thing touches my finger, I'm washing my hands. I cannot, I don't know what it is, but if anything touches my hand, it's getting washed immediately. I'm not like a germaphobe or anything like that, but it's just that feeling of like, nah, get this off me, get this off me. I can't be dirty right now. Unless I like mentally prepare where it's like, you know what? I know what's about to happen. Let me just dive in, then maybe. But something like holy, it's just more of a, if I am at home and my mom puts a little color on my cheek or something like that, sometimes people will put it on like the top of your hand and maybe just a little bit on your arm, and then you can go wipe it off. But going to a party of holy where, it's pretty wild, I don't know if that's for me anymore, man. It is very interesting to see like the adapt adaptation. People are gonna be people probably think I'm so dumb the way I pronounce shit. The adaptation of Holy. I saw it probably more so in college when these color runs started. Right, they would have the Mad Mudder where you're going through some obstacle course and you're rolling around in mud, getting wet, trying to make it to whatever finish line. And then I saw the color run where it's the same thing, right? You're doing a 5K, you're doing a 10K, whatever duration of run you're doing, and then people are just throwing color at you the entire time. On top of that, I was in West Hollywood this past weekend and I saw at the Pendry Hotel that they have a holy dinner tonight, actually. So I'm recording this on Monday. It is later tonight where, they bring in a chef probably, and then it's this full course meal. So I don't know if this is adaptation as much as capitalization. Like, oh, we know that there are some high class brown folks or people that just want to indulge in different cultures. So let's build this whole thing around it. The event is a dinner tonight in which there is a full course menu and it costs $150. And look, I definitely did think about it. But there's a, line that you have to draw where it's just like, yo, I don't know about this. I'm not even celebrating Holy. I just want an excuse to get out. So I guess it does work. Like they're setting these traps and damn, they know damn well they're going to get me one of these times. Outside of that, like I said, I was in West Hollywood. I went to the Comedy Store, finally sat in the original room. So if you haven't been, there's the world famous Comedy Store located in Los Angeles, California. Uh, very, very popular. Very, very popular. It's right up there with like Comedy Cellar. If you've ever been there, got to see Jeff Ross for the first time, the master roaster. Overall, that room was fun, and just being out in West Hollywood is very aesthetic, right? Like if you're ever in LA, definitely want to walk through West Hollywood. Other than that, I've just been eating my ass off. Like, and we're gonna come back to resolutions. Let's say by the end of March, where we start talking about like, hey, you know what? How are you doing? How are you doing on your resolutions? Have you gained any weight? Have you lost any weight? How much muscle have you put on? Have you saved any money? How's it going for you? And then I'll give my take because boy, it ain't looking good right now. I had a friend come in from out of town, Kunal, a brother of mine, and we went in with the mindset of like, hey, we're just gonna eat. Like I'm not taking you to no hike. I'm not taking you to see the Hollywood sign, to see the Getty. Like we are going to eat. And sure enough, we did, right? Like, and it was fun, right? It was fun. But you definitely it's like an addiction, bro. Like it is legit. I don't think y'all understand. For those that have a what am I trying to say here? Like for those folks out there or the folks that are listening that eat fast food a decent amount, maybe something like 3 times a week, whether it's fast food or, fast cash, let's say Chipotle, Kava, whatever it is, there is it's like a drug. It is a drug 100%. And when you stop eating that stuff, it has an effect, a massive effect where I almost attribute it to someone that stops smoking cigarettes or someone that stops a certain drug where it's like there is a like the body adjusts to a certain point once you tween off of this habit because that chemical imbalance is nuts, right? I'm used to having this fried meal 3 times a week. I'm used to having this salt and this sugar and all this stuff. And so then I'm almost expecting it, right? So in a week where I try to lay off of it, which I have been doing in the past couple of weeks, you almost bounce back way too hard where it's like, oh shit. You start getting in a little mood, you start getting a little grumpy, you get sleepy at weird hours. Then you're like, I need it. And then you're like, holy shit, am I an addict? So then having this past weekend where, I felt like I was slowly getting over that curve, and then you're right back into it. So today, I've been trying to take it easy, just like, okay, you know what? Let me just meal prep a little bit. Let me just order a salad from Mendo, like small things like that. But I am curious to know, like what is the tolerable amount? Like is it all right to have it once a week, twice a week? And the one person I would go to answer this question, his name is Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you've heard of him. Very popular podcaster. Uh, I'll find exactly what he is, but he's basically a professor of neurobiology at Stanford School of Medicine. Now, for those listening, please understand something and understand it good. Whatever Andrew Huberman says, I will do in a heartbeat. Now, it's not just because he's some dude that's on a podcast and he's saying, like, hey, you know what? You should take a walk in the morning. You should go see sunlight. You should sleep 8 hours a day. You shouldn't have caffeine after a certain hour. It's not all that. It's just the fact that it feels so supported with data, right? Like, there is an explanation behind it. Someone's not saying, hey, you need 8 hours of sleep and, like, because you'll be fully recharged. What the hell does that even mean? Oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Okay, why? Like I like to get into the nitty gritty of like, oh, okay, this releases from your brain. This is how your body kind of breaks it down. And this is how the body then reacts after that. So for those that have that like that kind of, explanation behind certain things, the Andrew Huberman, or sorry, what's the podcast called? The Huberman Lab podcast is the place for you. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a hard listen. It's a tough listen because if you blink during the podcast, you will kind of lose where you are. If you are doing the podcast, like let's say while you're cleaning the kitchen or something in the background, maybe you're working, maybe you're going for a walk, you will lose focus very fast because it's almost like too much detail. And this is like a 3-hour podcast covering a range of topics. Things like, oh, how do you get better at not procrastinating? How do you get better at losing weight, growing hair, dental hygiene? All these things get covered in the Human Mid Lab podcast. And I understand the frustration where it's like, oh, why do you listen to that? But you won't listen to like, your parents tell you to do something. Isha has been on my ass about this stuff where she'll be like, oh, like you should Put rosemary oil in your hair. Oh, sorry, rosemary water in your hair. And I haven't gotten into the practice. But I'm telling you, if on a single episode of Huberman Lab, he comes out and says, hey, this is why this is how you can improve your hair growth. And if you put in rosemary water twice a day and you do this and you do that, I'll hop on board in a heartbeat. Now, look, I'm going to say something that's a little bit embarrassing. I'm not the best with dental hygiene. It is what it is. I have been someone that has had cavities, teeth removed, got the wisdom teeth done. I had what's it called? They take the skin from the roof of your mouth and apply it to a receding gum, a gum graft. I've had a handful of oral issues. And it's not like I've been trying to be better at things, right? Like normally after you go to the dentist, you feel refreshed and you're like, all right, you know what? I'm going to try to care about my teeth a little bit. I'm going to try to care about the oral hygiene of my mouth a little bit. But when you get back into routine, my routine just looks like waking up and brushing my teeth in the morning. If I'm really hungover, I'm going to be honest, sometimes I forget. And, like let's say outside of that, if I'm going out at night, one thing I'll do is just run mouthwash. There'll be times at these bachelor parties and stuff where your teeth feel so damn gritty because you're drinking beer or liquor or just eating like trash that you're just running mouthwash over and over again. Because you don't want to go through the hassle of like, oh, okay, I got to get my toothbrush, get this toothpaste, do this and that. So I was a pretty lazy person when it comes to oral hygiene. I tried to start doing the whole flossing and brushing at night, and then it kind of fell off. And then Andrew Huberman had a podcast on oral hygiene. And he basically explained it where your teeth are always decomposing, or what were the words he used? Remineralizing or demineralizing? Remin and demon. Demon? You know what I'm saying. Your teeth are either getting better or your teeth are either getting worse. I promise I'm not dumb, y'all. Like I did decent in school, like I was at least top 2%. But anyways, remineralizing or demineralizing. And as long as your saliva is moving, right, and there's not shit on your teeth, right, you didn't just have a chocolate chip cookie and the stuff is just sitting on your teeth will be remineralizing. So they are getting better. Your mouth is the one place on the body that look at me. Look, I'm basically Andrew Huberman, right? If y'all cancel him, I can take his place. The mouth is the one area in the body that can recover the fastest. That's why things like oral surgery work so well. They drill into your mouth and then they're like, hey, you'll be all right in a couple of days. They give you a pat on the back and they send you home. So back to the oral hygiene thing, where all Andrew Huberman said is your teeth are either doing this or that. And when you go to sleep, your saliva isn't moving. So therefore, any shit in your mouth is having its worst impact. Therefore, it is very important to brush before you go to sleep. Now, it is damn near religious for me. Where I can go out, I could be, gone out of my head. But as soon as I get home, I know, I gotta brush. Because Andrew Huberman told me so. So why am I talking about Andrew Huberman? Just like I said last week, and actually right before I say that, let me close these blinds because the sun's hitting me on my face. The same way they were trying to get Jay Shetty out of here, they're trying to do the same thing to Andrew Huberman. Now, look, I need y'all to stop coming after these dudes after I start following them. Y'all need to either cancel them before I get here or after I'm long done with them. But stuff like Jay Shetty, come on now. And now it's Andrew Huberman. So what happened? Nothing. Basically, everyone is upset that he has kind of created this facade, right? Because nobody cares about science. Look, honestly, if you go out to a dinner and someone starts talking science to you, you're going to be like, oh, what the hell? Tell me something crazier than that. So everyone has been kind of like, oh, this guy Andrew Huberman has created such a following because he's been able to entice his fan base and probably has such this broy crowd. And yeah, I get it. I'm part of the problem. Whatever. I'm still team Andrew Huberman. But on top of all of that, they have gotten mad because he's basically been exposed for having an affair with five different women. Five different women. So now this whole this article came out in the New York Times, falling for Dr. Huberman, the private and public seductions of the world's biggest pop neuroscientists. And the article is pretty lengthy, but essentially it's what I just said. How people have fallen for this plethora of information he's given online. And at the same time, he's had this life that people would probably frown upon. The common person would frown upon. Is he going to talk about this on the next podcast? Like how do you even approach this? Personally, I don't care. What people do in their private lives to a certain extent, I don't care. I don't care if you lie on your resume. I don't care if you do drugs behind the scene, as long as you're not, putting anyone in harm's way. I don't care if you're having an affair. I don't care if you know, you don't brush your teeth in the morning. I don't care about people's private lives. As long as you're not trafficking some kids, as long as you're not beating on people, I don't care. I just want your product. Because let's say all of this stuff is true. I haven't vetted it. I haven't texted him. Let's say all of this stuff is true. Does that mean I should stop brushing my teeth at night because I learned something? Does that mean I should stop going for a walk and, getting some sunlight in the morning because he said, oh, something about the circadian rhythm? Oh, you should get sun in the morning. What, like, what are we trying to do here? Y'all trying to take down a dude on top of his throne because of an affair. 5 different women at the age of 46. If that's not just a testament to good health, look, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but 5, how do you have energy for 2? You got 5, bro, at 46? Come on now. I'm listening to that episode. They're trying to get everyone canceled, man. They're trying to get everyone canceled. Even, you remember I talked about that baseball player, Shohei Ohtani. They caught his translator, who was making $500,000 a year from the Dodgers, in a gambling scandal. Basically, let's say I'm Shohei Ohtani. I got my boy. I'm making $700 million. He's making $500,000 a year. He gets caught sending $5 million, $20 million to some gambling ring in California. Sports betting is illegal in California. He gets caught in that scandal. They say, hey, where the hell is he getting $20 million from? Shohei Ohtani, they've kind of flipped the script a little bit, saying like, oh, he has been stealing from me. Now, these dudes are boys, right? The Los Angeles Dodgers didn't just hire this random, what's it called? Interpreter? What did I just say? Translator? But that's the defense they're going with. Where it's just like, oh, yeah, he's been embezzling all this money from me, making all these illegal bets. Me, myself, I have never bet on baseball in my life. Once again, bro, like, if it's illegal, I get it, like, slap him on the wrist, do your thing. But what, like, the LA Dodgers are not about to let this dude go because he was gambling. The world of sports betting is so gray as it is now because of how popular it is. You see Prize Picks ads everywhere. You see FanDuel, DraftKings. You don't have to place a bet in the dark alley anymore. You can literally get on your phone and do this stuff. So something like this, like, what, can we just focus all our canceling efforts on P. Diddy right now? That man is up to something wrong, right? So let's focus on him. Who else are they trying to cancel? They keep giving Kate Middleton a hard time. Kate Middleton and other people in the royal family, and they're like, oh, like, we heard you're not well. We heard you're not well. Why aren't you telling us the truth? Maybe because they're not well. Maybe. I don't know. I've never been part of the royal family. But maybe. Speaking of canceling people, we get into some, I guess, a little bit of TV and film, but mainly on this thing that I have been watching recently, which I told you guys I would talk about a little bit here, and then I talk about it a little bit more in another episode, is the documentary that has been on HBO Max has been pretty popular recently, and it's called Quiet on Set. It's basically the untold truth of what happens to child stars during the come up of Nickelodeon under Dan Schneider. So I'm gonna take a quick break and we'll talk about that. If you haven't watched it, like I said, it's on HBO Max. It's called Quiet on Set, and a lot of if you came up in the early 2000s watching a lot of Nickelodeon, I think you'll like this documentary. Not like it as far as like, oh, nice, like I applaud the sex offenders that were on set. It's more of just like a little bit of nostalgia, along with holy shit, that's what was going on. So it's an enjoyable documentary as far as that goes. But here's my take on it. If you haven't watched it, maybe you don't want to listen to this segment, but I'm going to give a quick summary of everything. Amanda Bynes, one of the biggest stars ever to be known now. Is she well right now? I'm not really sure, but I can understand when you fly that close to the sun, you're bound to kind of crash and burn a little bit. And hopefully she's well. I obviously think we have a bigger problem as far as like, when certain celebrities get really big and then they go crazy and then we say, hey, you're crazy. And it's like, yeah, we made them crazy. Like, where's Britney Spears? Look at what was happening with Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber for a while. We make these people go crazy. And then we're like, oh, hey, why are you crazy? So back to this Nickelodeon stuff. They were talking about Dan Schneider, who was effectively the producer, the creator of a lot of these shows that kind of jump started the hype behind Nickelodeon. Things like All That, the Amanda Bynes show, Drake and Josh, right? There's all these shows that legendary shows. But then you kind of hear about the stories that were happening behind the scenes. Things like Dan Schneider not paying women equally as other men. There was a story of two women writers that had to split the salary of one writer, and he would make them do certain things in meetings like, oh, like shut up, or, like they would be very demeaning. They were the normal white guy you would hear about in today's cancel culture, where it's like, this guy is a tyrant. We don't like him. He's treating women disrespectfully. He's not paying us correctly. Stuff like that wasn't very eye-opening to me. Because it's like, oh, okay. Like this was early 2000s. I'm sure you could find that wherever, whatever company you went to, whether it's Hollywood or not Hollywood, I'm sure there was a handful of ladies not getting paid what they were supposed to get paid. That wasn't really the, let's get him out of here part. Let's cancel him. And I don't even know what canceling him looks like because I don't even think he's working right now. So what do? Do you send him to jail for that? Like, I don't understand what that looks like afterwards. That part, I was like, whatever, bro. Like this isn't that enticing. It's the part of these kids kind of getting abused. There are a lot of child labor laws when it comes to TV film, in addition to just the workplace, right? Like if you're under the age of 18, I believe it is. This was in Texas. If you're under the age of 18, you're not allowed to work more than a certain number of hours, right? There is no overtime if you are a certain age. You have to literally you have to send them home or else you're breaking child labor laws. Now, this is a different age range of child, right? Like this is child. These kids are 13, 14, maybe younger. We're talking about the kids that were on All That. And these kids don't know no better, right? Like imagine you're a child trying to make it onto a TV show. You get your first big break and then you're there. Oh, hey, we're going to go another 3 hours. Oh, okay. I guess, right? No one is going to raise the red flag and be like, "Hey, I think what we're doing here is wrong." Because you're part of something you've always wanted to be part of. Now, that's one aspect of it. Now you kind of turn to like, hey, why weren't the parents saying anything? Now, remember, I'm only talking about one of the problems That was regarding this Nickelodeon documentary with child protection, I will say. The working too much. When you're on a film set, whether it's TV, commercial, whatever it is, I didn't know this until I moved out here. People in film work the most hours I've ever seen. You will be working 16-hour days. 16-hour days where you wake up at 5 a.m. and then you're going till maybe 2 a.m. You wrap everything up, you go to sleep, and then you're right back at it the next day because you want to finish this project in 32 days so you can give it to the, company, send it to edits, and then it makes it on TV, right? Like you will push the boundary when it comes to people working. And now let's say you're running a kids TV show. You're pushing this even more. Now that's that aspect of it where, hey, I understand if you're the kid, you feel pretty much like, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow. Do I think their lives were ruined for that? No. Do I think the parents should have said anything? I could see it where it's just like, hey, you know what? It's fine. I know this kid's going to bring in, more money than I've ever brought in my life. Let's just roll with it. As long as the kid feels comfortable with it, let's roll with it. Now, the second aspect of it, which was these inappropriate jokes. Now, there was a lot of things. They showed this scene of Ariana Grande squeezing a potato, wanting juice to come out. Like, there was a lot of things that were like, yo, what? Like that was on TV back then. A lot of sexual innuendos, basically. People pouring water on themselves, noses on costumes looking like penis, slime and faces looking like you know what. Now, to this, my opinion, my thoughts were, hey, you know what? A lot of these things weren't seen as, I'll use a modern term, sus until now. Where like you could say the slightest thing, you could, make certain hand gestures back then, and people wouldn't be like, oh, yo, what are you doing? But nowadays, if you say the slightest thing, right? You say the slightest thing, you do the slightest thing, you sit at a certain angle, people are gonna get on your ass. People gonna be like, yo, my man, like, yo, what are you doing there? So with some of these references that, like we almost go back, dig it up, and then we show it on TV today's age, I can understand how that interpretation's like, yo. The one thing I had the biggest problem with was that potato thing, where you get a female child star to squeeze a potato trying to get juice to come out. Because it's just weird. It's a weird look. And if your parents, I don't even know, what do you even say, right? It's not like you're going to fight the writers. And at the same time, you don't want your kid to get kicked off the show. Now we get into the actual nitty gritty, dirty shit of it, where it wasn't Dan Schneider, but it was people under his wings that were working on set that were basically being straight up nasty. There was one instance, and you'll see it in the show if you watch it, where one of the ADs, assistant director or assistant, what the hell is AD? I should probably know this. Assistant director? Yeah, whatever. One of the ADs sent a child actress a picture of his penis. That's where it's like, yo, like, we got to get this dude out of here. And I've been seeing on TikTok, but like my news feed for now until that goes away, where people have been bashing the mom because she saw that this happened and then didn't say anything about it. Now, something like that is like, holy shit. The problem doesn't always stem from the kid. When you're a kid, you're a kid. You're going with what you know. You haven't learned half of the shit that you're going to end up learning, not even as, a knowledge base where I'm learning mathematics. Oh, I'm learning how to read, write, and, talk to a certain level. But it's just like understanding of the world, understanding of how people are allowed to treat you, and then things that people can't do to you. So when you're a kid and you're going through this, I understand. I understand where it's like, holy shit, I don't expect you to do anything. If you feel like something is wrong, it probably is. It probably is. And if you're a parent, you know goddamn well that you should be saying something in this situation. So that was only one instance of it. And then eventually that person gets caught. And then after that, they bring up the person that was actually sexually harassing, not even sexually harassing. What's one step worse than that? Not one step. What's worse than that? The sexually assaulting Drake Bell, the guy that went on to play Drake on Drake and Josh. That was a goddamn nightmare. Watching that, episode was horrible because it's just like, damn, bro, like his dad literally tried to ring the alarm where it's like, hey, someone should do something about this dude because how he's acting is weird. And then he, like a lot of brainwashing, and now the nowadays term gaslighting goes on. They get him out of the picture. So Drake's with his mom. The mom's not as so hands on. Drake gets sexually assaulted, and he doesn't go on to tell that story until today. It's a tough watch. I will say that. It's a tough watch. The one thing I didn't like about the documentary in totality is it almost felt like, hey, we want y'all to feel bad for supporting this Nickelodeon show as it was coming up. And in my opinion, it's like, yo, like y'all were watching this shit. Like everyone was watching this shit. Hollywood was watching this shit. It's not on, like, we are the consumers on this end. There weren't laws in place. There weren't the correct things in place that I hopefully believe that there is now to protect people from things like this. So overall, look, if you guys get a chance to watch it, it's a 4-part series. It's not that long. How much Dan Schneider gets blamed for it, I'm not really sure, and I don't really know how much he should get blamed for it. Him being a tyrant, him being an asshole, I don't, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about that part? I'm sure there'll be more stuff that comes out down the line, but let me talk about something else now. On a much lighter note, people have been raving about Dune 2. Oh my gosh. I have not seen people rave about a movie like this since maybe Infinity War, where it's like, yo, bro, you gotta go see this. You have to go see this. Go watch this shit in IMAX. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't even seen the first Dune because I was like, oh, this stuff's corny. This is a weird Star Wars. I've never been into that sci-fi type stuff. I haven't watched a single Star Wars. I haven't watched a single Star Trek. But I think I'm going to try and make it a point to watch Dune and then go to the theater, even if it's by my damn self, and watch Dune 2. Now, if you heard last week's episode, I did talk about having a Patreon episode being live last Friday. Unfortunately, I did not get to that. I just need to figure this shit out a little bit. I know I keep saying that, and I appreciate y'all for being patient with me, but there's a lot of content to come. With that all being said, hopefully you guys can't hear the sirens in the background. My name has been Ajay Patel. I appreciate y'all for joining me. Don't forget to comment, like, share, talk some shit about it. Anything helps the episode. So once again, thank you guys for joining me, and goodbye.